Children who grew up with fathers who were not providers and protectors have so much more work to do when they become adults. And I was just thinking about how a man who did not do his job as a father and as a husband creates more work for his children when they become adults. I'll use myself as an example, and then I'll use my brothers as an example because it happens to both women, female and male children. For female children, so I've been recently seeing somebody who, from the very beginning, made it clear that he was a provider and a protector, and he wanted to do things for me. And I've had other men say that in the past that I've dated, and it's every time it's very hard for me to just like sit back and sit in my femininity because I saw my mom just working her entire life. She's never not worked. She's never had my dad just be like, okay, let me take a load off. You know, you're taking care of all these kids, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're doing all these things. Let me just help you out a little bit. He never did that. So I just grew up already knowing that I was going to have to be a hyper independent woman. That was just what I thought being a woman was because that's all that I had seen. All of my aunts were the same way. All of any elder female that was in my family was working like crazy, was never just resting in their femininity, never got to take a break. So because of that, I just grew up thinking that's going to be my life. So now when I run into a man who did have a good example of a father and wants to provide and protect, it's like a lot of mental gymnastics that I have to do to allow myself to let that happen. And then I also have to see so much consistency over and over and over again for me to really truly feel it on the inside and, you know, accept that it's going to work for me and that it's something that I can trust, if that makes sense. Now, for men who grew up without a father who was a provider or a protector or a leader, and that man was still able to maintain a wife and a family, it's also very hard for those male children when they grow up because they saw a man be able to keep a family and keep a wife even though he did absolutely nothing. So that's why today we see so many men make women jump through so many hoops before they'll even pay for a single date because they saw their fathers even more while doing extremely less. So I feel like my dad did a disservice to all of us as kids because all of us are having to go through all these different, gymnastics and lessons to try to get what we deserve. So now for my brothers, I kind of feel bad for them because they never had a good example of a father or what they were supposed to do. I can only think of 2 brothers out of 5 that treated their girlfriends or wives even decently. The rest, just absolute, they treated them like crap. And that's because that's exactly how my dad treated his wife. You know, they all talk about how they want to have this legacy and, they want to carry on their name. There's a lot of work that you have to do to be able to keep that family name going and to have a good image on your family name. But yeah, food for thought.
I enjoy talking about my father. I enjoy talking about my father, the man he was, and how he raised us, particularly because I, as a young girl, grew up as a child whose parents was involved in the struggle. So my mom was a political activist. My dad was also a political activist for the ANC during apartheid. So they weren't the best parents because they had 2 siblings, so we're split in 2. So my eldest 2 were born during apartheid, and most of the time my parents were hiding over in the north, so they never really got to raise those other 2. And they are also older than me and my brother, so they are either married. The other one is married. The other one passed away, unfortunately, but she was also married to her wonderful wife. My sister married her wonderful wife, and the other one is older. She has kids, and then there's me and my brother. We are the youngest, and we got to experience a different completely side of my parents, where I feel like after 1994 both of my parents just wanted to do a proper upraising of their children, where they are not hiding. They're not hiding anymore from the apartheid regime. They are able to ground themselves, and I could say that it worked because they managed to raise us, me and my brother, without any problems. We had a happy childhood. Like at that time, we didn't really have much because, apartheid just ended and black people weren't allowed to really have much. So, oh my God. So yeah, my parents started basically from scratch, and then they were raising us. So there would be times where my parents would take turns of raising each other. So this is why sometimes of raising us, not each other, of raising us, they would take turns. And this is why sometimes I talk the way that I talk about my father. And it's a love and hate relationship, as I would like to describe it. What the hell is wrong with me? It's a love and hate relationship because of how he passed away. And when I was really young, I felt like my brother had a better chance with him because he knew him better. And I felt some type of way. So, and then I had a boyfriend on top of that, and my boyfriend's family, we were close, like they were friends. As well, like a group of friends who were political activists, then settled down, and then they started to raise their kids up on themselves. So their son was my boyfriend, and he was older than me. So we started dating. I started dating very young. So I felt like he was the closest person because after my father died, like there was a shift. This is why I feel like my mother couldn't have done single parenting because she had to do everything and there was less time for us, and then she had to nurture herself, which I believe to date that she never really got to do because of me, my mental issues, where I would forced to come to accepting my father's passing, which I still struggle with. My brain, sometimes I talk about my father in present tense. Okay, for the if I don't I'm surprised that I did not do that for this video. That because I allow people to believe that he's still alive, and then at the very end I'm like, oops, he passed away. He passed away. Did I mention that he passed away? And then I don't want to accept that he passed away to date. It's been so many years. So my mom had to deal with that. He has to deal with my brothers. Like, my brother was like cut off from the reality of the life in jail. So it was very hard. It was very hard for me growing up. And I'm happy that I had the parents that I had, and listening to the stories of others, because even after his death, I was used to a man. I thought everybody had the life that I had, like a parent at home. That's how I was raised. So I believed in a strong household and my mom still believes in that. She still believes in a man helping out in the family. So she's a spoiled woman, and she still talks about her own husband to date. So she believes the very same thing for me. So, and I think it can be vice versa. I feel like my brother is the same thing as my mother. A little bit. I'm more like my father, and my brother is more like my mother. She's You'll never know with my mom. You'll never know. And my brother is like that. So he likes hiding his pain. And like me, I like hiding my pain. But his passing did just about the same as someone who's been, is alive and is not there for you. That's how I feel.